Welcome to my second Prehistoric Kingdom ecosystem test. My previous test was a big success and proved that even at this stage of the game, an ecosystem in Prehistoric Kingdom is viable. So I'm gonna do something different. This won't be a simple retread with different dinosaurs. I have built two Paradise-Deathtraps on this map. Let me explain. I built two areas that could potentially trap predators and starve them to death, or be a little paradise for herbivores to thrive. I have one relatively large area surrounded by tall cliffs, and the only way in or out is this narrow path just big enough for a Dryosaurus or smaller animal to pass through. Anything bigger won't fit. I tested this path by fencing in a Dryosaurus and a Dilophosaurus together. It worked as expected. The Dilophosaurus spent minutes wandering around but couldn't attack the Dryosaurus on the other side. So if a small animal wanders into this area, they could potentially live here away from big carnivores. If a herd of baby Argentinosaurus passes through, they could grow up in here and become too big to leave, but they would also have a ton of land to themselves. However, small animals also mean small carnivores. A Velociraptor or Coelophysis could also pass through, or even a baby Tarbosaurus. So a small or baby carnivore could also come here. If there is prey, they can survive. If there's no prey, is the computer smart enough to leave? What if a baby Tarbosaurus wanders in and grows too big to fit through the exit? Then they'll be stuck in here with nothing to eat if no herbivores enter. I also built a small cave with the same concept. This is a much smaller area and is unlikely to support any animal population. It's more like a small shelter. Both areas have nests of every size to encourage breeding. I want my ecosystems to all have unique ideas to test. I will revisit the Morrison ecosystem someday, and I have a crazy idea that's completely different. The last test was also too easy. The animals I picked all had the same percentage for plants, water, and resource requirements, so the habitat was perfect for them. Now I'm simulating a completely impossible environment where dinosaurs from different continents and times all share the same area. This means I can't make any animal happy in this environment because they all have different percentages of plant and water requirements. I don't know what happens to these animals when they're uncomfortable in their environment, so this is a good test for anyone who wants to build more than the Morrison formation. Here's a list of the animals. I started with 596 animals. I used the same ecosystem logic as before. Herbivores greatly outnumber carnivores. All animals have adults, teens, and babies to try and mimic a real ecosystem. I spread the predators out more. I only kept the babies together. Herbivore herds are also placed haphazardly around the map. I also didn't place any animals into the Paradise-Deathtrap. I want them to discover it. After running the simulation for about 30 minutes, I'm down to 530 animals. Not bad. I did notice a lot of pregnancy, but I couldn't find any births. As I run the simulation, I suddenly realized why my population always declines a lot in the first few hours. Not all of my animals are adults. Only 1/3 of the animals in every species can breed, cause the others are teens and babies. There is no way for them to replace animals at a high rate until a few hours have passed, when more animals reach adulthood, so expect all my simulations to begin with a big population drop at the start. Oh, and check out these Dilophosaurus sparring next to an Argentinosaurus. And the Argentinosaurus just doesn't care. I love that. It's so big and powerful that these two Dilophosaurs don't bother it. I go around checking my Paradise-Deathtrap, hoping to see some animals there. Lo and behold, I see two animals in the cave. This cave isn't big enough to house a decent population, but it should provide some protection from big predators. Maybe some small dinosaurs can nest here. Nothing yet in the bigger trap. As I was looking around, I spotted some drama on the river. An Allosaurus was chasing a family of Protoceratops. The adult Protoceratops was trying to drive away this hungry Allosaurus. The entire Protoceratops family was badly hurt, but the adult wouldn't quit. It eventually drove the Allosaurus away. I thought the drama was over, so I stopped recording, only to notice moments later they were also chased by a juvenile Tarbosaurus. So my apologies for the cutaway. I wish I spotted it sooner. The adult managed to defend its babies from the Tarbosaurus as well. This all happened organically, and it's always amazing to see. I kinda forgot to track my time this run, but after a while, I finally witnessed the birth. It caused my population of 509 to jump to 515. Then, when I took this note and looked back at the game, I was at 527. Things were looking good. I decided to do another sweep of the Paradise-Deathtrap and finally saw a male Dryosaurus sitting there. It works. Now if only a female would wander in and lay eggs. Then I noticed another dinosaur. It was a young Allosaurus named Zelda. This is it. This is what I'm hoping to test. Zelda could potentially kill this Dryosaurus for food and grow, but then what? Will it leave if there's not enough food? Could a single Dryosaurus be enough food for it to grow too big to leave? I decided to observe this area. I noticed Zelda could climb very vertical walls, and I got worried. It eventually got hungry and left the area to eat. This confirms that they are smart enough to track food, but then Zelda was immediately scared back into this area by a Dilophosaurus. The way Zelda walked up the wall made me add more big rocks to prevent animals from climbing in or out. I look back and I find a male and female Dryosaurus, and I also spotted Zelda chasing another Dryosaurus into this area, and then chased back out of this area and back into the main ecosystem. This confirms my idea works and that the computer is smart enough to leave if they're small enough. I just need them to stay. Back in the main area, my population also dropped to 496 animals. I have lost a total of 100 animals. I'm not too concerned now that I understand what is going on. I realized I was so focused on my land that I haven't checked my cave in a while. I thought it was empty, only to see an entire pack of Leoneosaura run in. This could be a safe place to spend the night to escape from big predators. I doubt the game is that smart. If it happens by accident. That's totally fine. My population stabilized around 483. I hadn't seen any Velociraptors and Coelophysis in a while, so I thought I'd check on them. I'd scroll through my list, and I was in shock. My Coelophysis were all dead, and my Velociraptors were down to 3 animals. 2 males and 1 female, so all of my small carnivores are basically extinct. I made sure my small predators had a bigger population than all the other predators too. This ecosystem simulation had failed. My overall population had grown to around 490 now and stabilized around that number for a while. The last female Velociraptor died shortly from starvation. I wonder if it's because I couldn't meet all of its food requirements. My herbivores are still thriving, and I don't meet all of their food requirements. You see, certain animals have multiple food requirements. Some require fruits, bugs, or fish as well. This is one of the things I wanted to test. I checked earlier and I thought it wouldn't be a problem. In an ecosystem, I can only provide plants and meat. But then why are my herbivores thriving when some of them require fruit? I figured I'd go check on my Dilophosaurus population as well. And they were down to 3 animals, and all of them were male. So they are extinct as well. The only thing left is my Allosaurus and Tarbosaurus. The Dilophosaurus also needed more than just meat. My Allosaurus and Tarbosaurus only need meat. They should be fine, right? I had to check. Both populations were down to single digits. At least they can still breed, so I don't think food is really the issue. I started to check on how my herbivore population was doing. I noticed that outside of predation, a few animals died in this big lake that I built. They died of starvation trying to swim across this lake. Animals move much slower while swimming too. It would take a long time to cross this lake. Sure, there's plenty of water, but no food. My lake might have actually sabotaged my plans. This was the real death trap that I had built. I'm not saying this is necessarily the reason my predators failed, but I can see why this could be a problem. I noticed a lot of water chases from my time observing this ecosystem. I was ready to admit defeat when I spotted something even worse. There was a security flaw in my Paradise-Deathtrap. I forgot to record the footage, but a large Deinocheirus was just sleeping on this rock. It walked up from the side here. The hill was not steep enough to prevent a large animal from just circumventing this narrow passage, so even a large animal could come and go as they please. This defeats the entire purpose of this area. The cave security was fine, so after 4 hours, I decided to end this simulation. My population rebounded to around 503 animals. I don't think it'll have any problems growing, so that's not my concern. The security flaw in my Paradise-Deathtrap ruined this test for me. Plus, I lost my Coelophysis and Velociraptors. If I can't sustain a predator population, this ecosystem is a failure. I still think it's a good idea, so I'm not giving up. I'm going for round 2, but I'll remove the lake and also increase the security of the Paradise-Deathtrap. Stay tuned for part 2. For now, it's closing time for the Dinosaur Arcade. I'll see you next time.